for me, the ultimate thing that I see that is my red flag that I get frustrated on is the amount of control. So typically I don't think that most agencies are wrong or bad people. I think that why they do those things is because from a business standpoint, from scalability and growth and systems, it makes sense why they do some of the things that they do.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Camden and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And folks, I'll just give you a heads up. I brought a souvenir back from Texas, and it may interrupt me during the show today, or I may have one of those where I talk like this as I try not to cough into the microphone. So it's always fun. And you know, Camden, since you suggested this today, I just want to say that today's show is sponsored by Monday Moments newsletter. Folks, if you ain't signed up for Monday Moments newsletter, you're missing out, because it is a special thing that comes out on Mondays. And you're going to learn lessons from me screwing things up, like trying to hold a podcast and hold my breath and not cough, all at the same time, because I am multi-talented. Right, Cam?
Yes, sir. You're pushing through it. We got you. Sean and I were ready to support you.
You're pretty quiet this morning, so look out, folks. He'll come in like a wrecking ball, like a what's her name?
That's a Miley Cyrus. Come on,
Miley Cyrus.
There we go.
Yes.
You didn't have the Miley Cyrus on the tip of your tongue.
No,
this is the difference, Dad. We talk about being high energy when you're on coaching calls all morning before a podcast. This is the difference of being on a roof working on a heater all morning before a podcast.
Oh, well, there you go, folks. Well, you got all that free outside air. So,
oh, yeah. Got the squirrel cage out, too, by the way.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of squirrels, our good friend Sean Garner joining us. Sean, do you have a window on the other side of your computer that a squirrel might distract you? Over
here to the left. So if you see this, that's the squirrels running by. Yeah.
Folks, the longtime viewers of our show will know that mine is right there. Boy.
Yep. And my lizards are right here, but it's not lizard season here yet in Tucson, so we're all right.
Yeah. Camden is distracted by lizards, so he has to adopt the Arizona model of the squirrel, and I don't think they've done a movie about that yet, have they, Cam?
No, I don't think so. But we can write that down. Well, we can make it work.
There's yet another idea that's come out of the 10X Your Team podcast that will never come to fruition. So, Sean, man, I was just wondering what is it about marketing? I mean, is it sexy? Is it fun? Or what is it that just drives you to be in that industry?
Yeah. I think first, thank you both so much for the opportunity. I can already tell we're having a good time. So this is going to be good. So what got me into it is probably more so, I would say, like a protective instinct. So I had owned several businesses in the past. I joke with my wife, like, we've been married 22 years and I've probably had about 42 different jobs. And so through that, done a lot of different things. I was a firefighter paramedic for a long time. And then that kind of got us into entrepreneurship, starting opening up gyms and other businesses. And I was hiring these marketing agencies and honestly just having poor experiences. I felt like they were kind of halfway doing things. They were holding some truths back. They seemed to kind of keeping all the controls. And so what ultimately led the marketing agency to turn out to what it is after us opening and starting several businesses of our own and trying to kind of figure out this digital marketing on my own and kind of self-educate as I was going through it, started helping some friends and colleagues and stuff. And as I was learning more about it, kind of learned that there's some shady things that most agency owners are doing. So whenever we started doing our other businesses, it kind of came out of a necessity of, I knew I didn't want to hire another outside agency to kind of come manage our stuff because I had not had any good experiences with it. And so that's kind of led me to why I do what I do is more so, and who we do it specifically for with serving, small local service-based businesses is because that's what we are. That's what we own. And I was frustrated by seeing, the little guys get taken advantage of and not being able to compete with the big guys just because maybe they didn't have the big budget or the big teams. And so how can we fix both of those problems? Because I think that small business is the lifeblood of our country and everything. And so if I can help protect them and help them to do what they are called to do, that is ultimately, I think, my purpose and calling with having this marketing agency.
What were some things that stood out that those folks were doing wrong that you were seeing? Like the thing that comes to mind for me, and my work with marketers, I think that's also it's this trap that I think they fall into. I don't think they're necessarily bad people, but it's like it's really easy to sound very certain. We're going to do these Facebook ads, and it's going to give you this many leads, and then we're going to convert it. It's really easy to make it sound like it's math.
Not that we have any experience with that.
No, not years of experience, but it's like if we laid out like a math equation. It's like, well, Sean, it makes perfect sense. I got to hire you. But then in reality, there's all the people equations going on behind that I feel like they just kind of undersell. Could you talk some about what that aspect of it is and what people miss with that?
Yeah. So a couple of things. So for me, the ultimate thing that I see that is my red flag that I get frustrated on is the amount of control. So typically I don't think that most agencies are wrong or bad people. I think that why they do those things is because from a business standpoint, from scalability and growth and systems, it makes sense why they do some of the things that they do. I joke with a lot of my clients, like, we have a very successful, good business, but don't necessarily copy our strategy for scalability because a lot of the things that we do is not scalable because of how much access they have to me, the owner, and our team members and how we overly communicate. Like, you're not going to find that at other places. But what I have found most agencies do that I don't like is they hold all of the keys. So for example, they may build you a website, but they technically still own the domain and the domain's on their account. Or they may build you a website, but they keep admin access and they only give you manager level access. So they still technically control and own the website. Or they may run ads for you and giving you data and reports, but they're only doing it underneath their account and they're just giving you access. So if you ever did have to separate from them, or the other one, they're building your website on what's called a custom CMS or a custom platform that's proprietary to them. So if you ever had to separate, it's great. Again, nothing bad about them. It is smart from a scalability standpoint because it's easier for their team to control, to build systems around. But if the customer ever wants to separate, it's a nightmare to pull that stuff apart. They can't technically take all that stuff with them. And so you may be building up all of this equity with your brand on something that you really don't own. I relate it a lot to think about your website and your digital stuff as a digital storefront. You would not want to hire a general contractor to build you a building on rented land that then you had to pay them to let you in the front door every single day. Like you wouldn't do that with a brick and mortar facility, but digitally, a lot of small business owners do that when it comes to their marketing. They don't actually own their digital assets. So that to me is the big thing that I see. And then to go to your question, Cam, about as far as like the overpromise, I think that is the optimistic marketer. I don't think a lot of them are malicious. I do unfortunately think that my industry is becoming like the new used car salesman, where it's like, that's just another marketing guy there. And so I think by trade, we are optimistic in the marketing industry. So we want to see that because we want to paint the big future and what is possible. And so I don't think that it is malicious. However, I do think that a lot of people, it is almost like a blissful ignorance. Well, I saw that it worked for this client. This is what they did, and they got these results. So it can happen for you too. And they don't understand necessarily the nuances that happen with different markets, different industries, different levels of ad spend, different levels of, just overall brand equity that's already been built up. So although they may be saying, oh yeah, this is going to happen. Well, that's probably based upon a certain finite amount of data that they have based upon past experiences for a very particular client. And they're not actually able to see like holistic strategy whenever it comes to it.
So can you share a story from when you got burned in that case? in one of your previous businesses that really has set the foundation for what you're doing now?
Yeah. So one of them was the one that comes to mind the most, where I got the most frustrated and upset, was that same website control. I had a coaching and consulting business. So I was in the fitness industry for a really long time, and I was helping other personal trainers and gym owners understand how to set up their own online training business. And so I had hired a marketing agency to help build my website, do SEO, run paid ads and stuff to help find coaching and consulting clients. And the first issue came is this was right around the time of probably around like 2017, 2018, where I was really starting to really dive into digital marketing, and I was starting to learn this stuff and become a above average, I would say, educated customer that they were probably used to working with. So I would question things, and it's not because I was trying to be rude to them, but I was just learning. It's like, well, I was reading, I saw some case studies, and every time I would question something, I was the idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. We're professionals. Like, this is what we do for a living. You just keep doing the fitness thing. And they would never have like that teacher heart. Like, okay, I understand that you read that. This is why that worked. And, trying to educate and explain it to me. And so they always got really defensive. So that kind of threw up a red flag to me. And so then eventually, as I kind of figured this stuff out, I ran my own tests. So I built my own landing page, and I started sending people to that, and it started performing better than their page. Long story short, I went to them and showed them, asked if they could make these recommendations for them. Again, you don't know what you're talking about. You just work with personal trainers. We're this marketing agency. So I eventually was like, okay, you know what? It seems as if we're not working out. We should just go ahead and part ways. That's whenever it really kind of unraveled. Of like, whenever we went to part ways, I found out everything I had been paying them for to manage and build and stuff, I didn't know. So technically, this is what a lot of marketing agencies owners will tell you. They're like, oh, no, you own your website. And they're using verbiage that business owners typically don't understand. Technically, you own your website. What that means is you might own your URL, what people are typing in the address, and it's on your account. You may own your website content, so the words and the images and stuff like that. But that content has to live on something that's called a CMS, or a content management system, like a WordPress, a Squarespace, a Wix, and you can't take that with you. So they will give you a doc of all your website data, of all the pages, all the words and stuff, but it is not something that people can access. And so whenever I found out that they had built this massive website of, 200 and something pages with all this SEO, whenever I just left, they said, oh, this is on our custom proprietary CMS. You can't have this. Best of luck. And that was, to me, where I was like, that moment there is what led to the marketing agency. I was like, I'm not, because I was wanting to start helping the personal trainers and stuff that I was working with I was less of coaching and consulting and more of like, hey, let me help start doing this for you. And so that point was there. Is like, I will never do it like those guys. And so how we shifted and set up our agency now is, like I said, it is not scalable. It's not. I would not have other agencies come learn from me as far as how to set up a scalable agency, but I can promise you this, that we will outserve and outdeliver any agency. We've competed against, and we've taken clients from big national brands and big national marketing agencies and stuff. And the thing that our clients always say is, man, it feels so good to be able to have somebody that I can just pick up the phone and call. So like our clients have again, not smart or scalable, but we work with dozens of clients and they all have my personal cell phone number. Like, what marketing agency can you call? And if you have an issue, that you call directly to the CEO. Like, if anything, best case scenario, you have an account manager that's going to get to you within, 24 to 48 hours or maybe a week. And so, but it's all because I saw what happened, because being a small business owner, like, your business happens in real time, and you don't want to have to wait 7 days to get a turnaround on something if you have a question on something that's going around your business, because it's your livelihood. This is how you feed your families. And so if something's going wrong with it, you want somebody to take that seriously. And that's ultimately what, because of that experience, was why we do what we do now.
Yeah, I'm just going to, before you, because I know you got one, Kim, but I'm just going to push back. You can scale. You just don't do it the way everybody else does. And that's your whole business model. Dude.
100%.
That's the beauty of what you do. You don't do it like anybody else. That's how you're scaling.
Yeah.
I just had to push back on that one.
No, I love that. You're right. I did have one because what I'm thinking, John, we talked a little bit about like that pitfall of like the over promising. I could almost see in your journey how you might fall into that a bit there early of that almost like the phrase that comes to mind is like copy and paste marketing. Like you're running gyms, you're helping gyms. So it's like, take this right over here. Boom, we're good. Then somebody calls you up and it's like, Otis calls you, hey, we're doing leadership coaching. Leadership coaching, personal training, same. And then you come over here and you're like, holy crap, this is different. Did you go through that kind of a journey where you fell through that pitfall that we're talking about?
I did, but I adapted early because of something that I learned in the fire service. So in the fire service, I was a firefighter medic for about 6 years and on engine companies, ambulances and stuff like that for a couple different departments. And one thing that you learn a lot in training is strategies versus. So in the fire service, right, the strategy, let's very basic, high level strategy is go put the fire out. There's a house on fire, go put it out. Now there might be different tactics based upon where the fire started. Is there people inside? How big's your crew? What kind of nozzle that you have? Do you need to vent the roof? And you have different tactics that you do, but ultimately you got to put the fire out. And that's what I started to learn how to separate within marketing is the difference between strategies and tactics. And that's what I think happens with the root cause of people, the overpromise and underdeliver or overpromise, underdeliver type thing that they're dealing with is they don't understand the difference between those two. Is so they think that a tactic is a strategy. So I did this specific thing for this client and I got a great result, but they don't understand maybe bigger picture, how that small little thing impacted the overall strategy to why it made it work or maybe why it was not working for a specific client. So because I kind of had that foundational knowledge, I was, pretty quick, I guess, to pivot and learn that there's differences between those two things. So now how we look at things is we do work with a wide variety of industries. And for the most part, they all have the same problems and the same frameworks of strategies that they need to do. However, the individual tactics that we do within that strategy is where they differentiate. So some tactics, maybe it makes a lot more sense to run Meta or Facebook ads for some industries, but not another. Like, for example, very few people are probably scrolling social media and like, I need to repair my garage door. Right? No, absolutely not. But like, they're probably going to Google and looking for that. And then maybe you can retarget them on Facebook ads, but nobody's just like, you're not going to do any kind of interruption based marketing and see successful with that. Now, maybe for some business coaches, that makes a lot more sense if somebody's sitting there scrolling social media. And, hey, are you looking to 10X your team? Well, yeah, that might work a lot more in that case right there. And so it's understanding the difference between the tactics and strategies so you know which one of those that you need to apply to the business. But I will say foundationally, I do believe that there is a set of strategies that all businesses need to do with inside of their marketing, and where you individualize and customize is based upon tactics that you execute.
What and just because I love the individualized approach that you do with your clients, I just want to put a challenge on you. Could you give us the two clients that are on opposite ends of the spectrum?
Okay. Yeah. So really great examples would be, one is a company called Machine Tool Specialties and another one called Half Moon Plumbing. So Machine Tool Specialties is a CNC distributor that they are not manufacturing machines, but they are selling CNC machines that are anywhere from $250,000 to $3 million machines. Flip side, I've got a plumber who they are selling, residential plumbing service, and they are looking for, typically with that, let's say we have an average cart value of that of around $800 all the way up to, say $10,000, $15,000 if we're doing like an at-home water treatment, but nothing typically more than that. So both of those things need similar strategies. So they all need a clear brand message. They all need a really good website that's convert to generate leads and collect customers. They all need some type of follow-up nurture campaign with email marketing and touch points and stuff for their sales teams. They all need foundational SEO set up to make sure when customers are looking for them, they're able to be found. However, individual tactics, guess what? Nobody's going to buy a $1 million CNC machine from a Facebook ad, but they may buy a water treatment machine on a Facebook ad. So there's going to be a specific tactic that you use in order to get people into their world. We have a marketing domination framework that we build out for all of our clients as our strategy. And it comes down to build, fill, and optimize your sales funnel. So the foundational thing and the premise all revolves around every business strategy needs a sales funnel. Sales funnel is not a landing page or a website, but it's a customer relationship journey. So they all need that. And then how we execute that is going to look different as far as whether it's specific landing pages for paid ads versus a whole built out website. And that's where the tactics and stuff kind of to get extreme. So I would say that'd be the biggest difference right there is as a CNC manufacturer to a plumber, somebody that's selling a good versus selling a service, the actual tactics that you would execute for them and the price point, customer lifestyle cycle, those are all going to be completely different.
I'm curious because as we're talking about this, we're getting into a lot of the nuances of marketing. I'm curious, what's your take on marketing nuance? I don't mean like what we're talking about now, but I mean, if I'm doing something that requires some nuance to understand, how the hell can I portray that to people in a quick, 30-second Facebook ad or whatever it is? How do you get those type of things across? Because it seems like it's one of those things. Like I remember getting this rule early on into my my first business. So it's some coach told me something along the lines of, it's like, look, 10% of people actually want to read everything. So you could just bury it at the bottom of the website. Just all you need is the tagline. The people who want the nuance will go find the nuance. I think there's probably some truth to that. But at the end of the day, if my business requires nuance to understand, then I need to figure out a way to communicate that. What are your thoughts on getting that nuance out there in a tight window like that?
Yeah, I love that question. So that ultimately serves as the foundation of what we do. So we talk about strategies and tactics. For us, our foundational marketing strategy has to come down with your messaging. So for us personally, our philosophy that we use is the StoryBrand framework. So Don Miller created the StoryBrand framework. I'm a certified StoryBrand guide and coach. So that framework is the messaging framework that we use for all of our clients. And that is the baseline for everything that we do. So the very first step that we do whenever we work with any client on our initial kickoff meeting is we're going to work with them to create what's called their StoryBrand brand script. A StoryBrand brand script is nothing more than 7 talking points that help you to clarify your message so your customers actually listen. And it follows the arc of, the hero's journey of a story. So the first thing is you have a character in a story, right? The character is your customer and they want something. And the second part is there's a problem that's preventing that character from getting what they want. That problem is hit and talked about at 3 different levels. The external, which is the main thing they're dealing with. The internal, which is how dealing with that problem makes them feel. And the philosophical is why is it just morally wrong that your customers have to deal with that problem? The third talking point that you help them create is you as the guide. Most of the time in marketing and messaging, people think that the story is all about them. It's not. It's all about your customer. But on this one little talking point here, we want to demonstrate empathy and authority on why we are knowledgeable and we have actually solved this for other people, that also we understand what it's like to be just like them. The fourth thing that we want to do is we want to call them to action. It needs to be clear and direct with exactly what we want the customers to do to solve that. We want to then, step 5, give them a 3-step plan in order to get that problem solved. Like step 1, schedule a consultation. Step 2, we create a custom plan. Step 3, you execute and dominate online. That's our 3-step plan, by the way. Then the 6th thing that we want to do is we want to talk about all the things that we're going to help them or prevent them from experiencing, like all the failures and stuff that they're going to avoid. So then the 7th talking point that we're going to create is the happily ever after. What's all the good things that they're going to get after they've done business with us? We create those 7 different messaging talking points. And then after we have that, we now have a copy perspective to write all the words for landing pages, social media content, email marketing, and stuff like that. So that becomes just like you would hire a graphic designer to create brand guidelines, logos, colors, and fonts like that. And then they could use that brand guidelines to create pamphlets, social media content, and stuff like that. We do that exact same thing baseline with your brand messaging for the words. So then all your words are consistent across what you do. So foundationally, if you have something that's really confusing, guess what? It's probably not going to sell because it is too confusing. So if we can't do our job of taking that and distilling that into those 7 different talking points so that it is simple, you're not going to win. And that's probably why I have found where I do start to butt heads with clients is when they're like, no, Sean, you don't understand. I've got a super technical product that I'm trying to sell here. And we have to explain all of this great detail. This is actually talking about extremes of who we work with here. So we were working with a company. They are an AI SaaS company, and they sell their software is this AI chatbot that works with very specific niche organizations like unions, regulatory bodies, highly regulated industries and stuff like that to be able to leverage this AI. And he was trying to overly explain it. And I was pushing back, and he's like, it's very technical. It can do this and this and this. And I said, it seems as if it's just a place, a chat bot on your website where people can get all the answers to everything that they're looking for. Like, well, yeah, but that sounds too simple. It's like, but that's exactly what your customers are looking for. They're not developers like you are. They're not going to be looking for all of the things that you just told me. They're looking for a simple way for people to go on their website and find the information that they need. And I think 2 times it's like the curse of the puppy dog, right? You love it so much, you just squeeze the life out of the thing. Like, you've got your business, it's your baby, and you're holding on so tight that for you, all these detailed, nuanced things are super important. But to your customer, they typically want something, and there's a problem that's preventing them from getting what they want. And it is almost never your service is what they want. Your service might help them solve the problem, but that's not what they want. Like I tell people, nobody wants an accountant. What they want is to pay less money on their taxes. Nobody wants a doctor. They want improved health markers. And so too often when things are getting overly complicated, it's because you're trying to force a product or service or solution down someone's throat instead of approaching it from a guide perspective of how can we help them solve their problem. And hey, by the way, this product or service can help do that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the old, I don't want a drill, I want a hole in the wall, right? I mean, it's,
Do you think there's a extreme on that end that, like, I guess I'm trying to think of, like, talking about, like, making it, just keeping it simple. Is there an extreme there where if you have something that is pretty complicated and nuanced, and you get this really great simple tagline, great funnel, all this kind of stuff, and then you got all this nuance on the back end that it messes it up? Or, well, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I'm trying to look at that end of the spectrum there.
No, yeah. So you still want to have that stuff on there, but that's not what you want to lead with. So like you talked about, there's different users on or different user behaviors. So in your marketing. So we want to have that, but we want to be strategic about where we put it. So typically whenever we design like a landing page or a website, there's 10 parts of it. We like to think about it like Lego blocks. And so there's 10 little Lego blocks that we're going to build out on a landing page. One of those Lego blocks is what we call the explanatory paragraph. So all the technical jargon, detail stuff that you want to put in there that you think is relevant, and maybe it is, we do want to have it listed somewhere in our marketing collateral. But we personally, when we're designing pages, are putting that stuff down there lower, because the people that do want that are the ones that are going to sit there and read every detail. So we're going to put it down there further in the block. But most customers are scamming and scanning website. You need to be able to answer questions really quickly. Typically, if just whenever the page first loads, if they can't answer within 3 seconds, what do you do? How do you make my life better? And what do I need to do to get it? They're not even going to scroll down. So we tell all of our clients that needs to be super clear and simple, because you have to earn the scroll to get them to scroll down. Don't assume that they're going to read every line in detail on the page. But what we have found is, for the super technical nuanced stuff, yes, we still want to add it, but that's going to be further down there on the landing page, because the customers that do want that are the ones that are going to be willing to read all the words on the website.
Yeah. Have you had a client with that goes in and says, it's like, well, Sean, those are the only people I want. If they're not going to read all the details, I don't want them. Is there some logic to that end of things also?
Not that I've found. Because there's one of the things that I don't like about marketing is when people say, no, this is the only way to have it happen. I haven't found that. How I relate, I guess, side note on that, how I relate to marketing is because I was in the fitness industry for like 12 years. If you just say that there's one way of doing it, no, this is the only diet you can do, this is the only fitness thing you can do, like, that shows how ignorant you are, because there's a lot of ways. Guess 100%. What? People have lost amazing weights doing keto, doing paleo, doing calorie counting. People have gotten in really good shape doing CrossFit, strength training, this high rocks. Like, they've done a bunch of different stuff. So it all works if you're consistent with it. I think that where I've seen disconnect with that is just like in fitness, when people jump ship and they don't give stuff long enough time to work. And so I tried running paid ads for a month. It didn't work. I tried posting social content for a month. It didn't work. But you didn't give it enough time. You don't have enough reps in to actually see if it works. So from my so saying all of that as a disclaimer, from my experience with the type of clients that we've worked with, I have not seen anything that is so technical that can't be overly simplified. The most technical thing that I think that we've worked with that we still were even able to ultimately simplify because they were making it way too technical is a company called GWT2 Energy. And what they do is they are restaurant and high-end luxury brand, retail brand energy consultants. So in essence, if you think about like being able to create thermostats and timers of when the fridge should kick on and off and stuff like that. And so that is somewhat highly technical, and they do have a more niche audience of the people that they are speaking to. They're not selling to the store manager. They're typically selling to like the CFO of the restaurant or the luxury brand. And so it's a much more smaller audience that they are. So businesses, I mean, I don't want to give people an excuse. If you are that particular, like you could maybe get a little bit more detailed, but the more simple you can make things, the higher your conversions are going to be, because your brain, right, is always trying to scan always trying to conserve calories. So if we are making our marketing simple to where it's easy to digest and click, that's going to give us the right, again, to earn the scroll and to have that conversation, because we should be piquing our customers' interest with our marketing, not trying to shove everything down their throat the very first time that they have an interaction with us, especially if it's something that's that tech.
Let's talk about in transitioning for you, what it was like to move out of the gym, the fitness world, where, there's a lot of variables, but it's still pretty cut and dry, to digital marketing, which is, it's fitness world variables on steroids, to stay with fitness.
I think for me, that transition wasn't as difficult as going from a W-2 employee to an entrepreneur. I think that was the biggest the mindset shift and everything for me, because how it happened was, I was working at the fire service. I was a firefighter, and we had opened up a gym, and the gym was starting to do really, really well. And we decided we were at the crossroad points of, okay, we have two choices. We can either, one, we can hire a manager and just, step back from this because it's getting too big. It needs somebody there full time. Or I could leave the fire service and we could be full-time entrepreneurs. My wife was finishing up her master's degree in nursing at the time. And we made the decision. We didn't have any kids. We're like, you know what? Let's take the risk. Worst case scenario, I can reapply at the fire service and I can get back on. So I ended up making the decision to leave the fire service. The day I left the fire service, we decided to go out to dinner, celebrate with friends. Yeah, we're full-time entrepreneurs. No joke. As a joke, my wife took a pregnancy test and she was pregnant. So we went from, this is super simple. It's just me and her. This is going to be, if you don't know this, being a firefighter, you have amazing benefits. Like my out-of-pocket cost to have a child was going to be like $100, like amazing benefits. Now I'm an entrepreneur with self-employed health insurance, where just my health insurance is like $1,000 a month now for kids. So that switch instantly, I forced folks. I had to grow up real quick in the business world, because now it's not just like a hobby. Like this is the only source of income that you have. And now, hey, by the way, Bucko, you're about to be a dad too. So this thing's really got to take off. So that transition and mindset of having, like, you don't have someone telling you what to do. You don't have a set paycheck. Like you really do. You eat what you kill. And so if you're not out there bringing in new clients and retaining the ones that you have, like, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. Nobody's going to give you a raise just for trying really hard. It's based upon the output that you put in. And I didn't like that at first, because I was a really good employee. I was really good at showing up, working hard, and knowing that it was going to be rewarded. But sometimes in entrepreneurship and business, it doesn't matter how hard you work. It matters the results that you produce. I can show up, work 12, 15, 16, 18 hour days. It's not going to change the pay. It's only about the results that I get. And so that to me was the biggest, like kind of like punch in the face, like wake up moment for me. From going to the fitness to the marketing agency wasn't as bad, because that's kind of how it progressed. We went from, we were running these gyms and working in fitness and everything. And I started to do things, how the agency originally started almost 10 years ago now was, it was not a full on agency like it is. It was just helping personal trainers and gym owners create an online offering to sell at their gym. And so as it was learning, it kind of, Cam, I think you were saying this earlier, that's how it evolved is, so I was just doing this for gym owners and personal trainers and stuff as I was in the fitness industry. And then in 2020, my wife wanted to open up her medical practice. She does hormone therapy, functional medicine and everything. And she's like, you doing all this stuff for the gym owners and personal trainers. Like, don't you think it would work for my medical practice? I was like, yeah, same strategies. We just might tweak a little bit of tactics. So we ended up building out, and I say we, it was just me at the time, wrote all of our sales copy, built the website, built the whole funnel and everything. Medical practice blew up, was extremely successful. And she's had it, 6 years later now, and she's on like a 3-month waiting list. A couple months after that, my attorney saw that. He's like, hey, you've been doing this for these personal trainers. You just did it for your wife. It seemed to work. Think it would work for a law firm? Yeah. Same strategies. We might just have to do a few tweaks and tactics. And so that's kind of how it started evolving to where that is what slowly pulled me out of fitness. Now we still obviously work with some fitness clients and everything now, but the majority, I would say 99% of our clients now are local service-based businesses. So it's typically like the medical spas, the medical clinics, chiropractors, dentists, attorneys, accounting firms, real estate agents, people that serve a local area and they're looking to book calls, schedule appointments, and they want to show up wherever their customers are looking. That's what we do really well with now. But it has evolved over that time to what it is now.
I'd love to hear your perspective on some of the trends in marketing and actually taking that same point of like strategy versus tactics with that. Because I think we get wrapped around the tactics. There's a lot of the exciting things, the new AI drops, all that kind of stuff that keeps happening. And then also, I'm sure most of the strategy stuff stays the same, but there's got to be some moving pieces on that aspect as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, great question. The biggest one right now in my niche of what I like to focus on and everything is something that's called AI visibility. So how do you get your business to show up in like ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI overviews and everything? And a lot of times, this is the marketing and the marketing is they're selling like, oh, we're going to get you to show up in AI overviews and show up in ChatGPT and stuff like that. If you boil it down to strategies and tactics, what you need to do in order to show up in these LLMs is the exact same thing that works to get you to show up number one on Google with SEO. So there are some small nuances that can help with that to expedite. But so I would say it this way, you're most likely, you're pretty much doing the exact same thing. However, because of how the algorithms and stuff work, it may quicker show up on a ChatGPT versus a Google, but the things that you need to do are the exact same thing. Like we teach a holistic SEO strategy, and even internally, we don't call it search engine optimization anymore. We'll call it search everywhere optimization because we want to make sure that we're showing up everywhere our customers are looking. So for us, the first thing.
That's good marketing. I got to say, just the specific tweak there. That's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Wait, don't tell anybody. We may know what we're doing. But the first thing is we want to make sure that the website's technically sound. The second thing is we want to make sure we have a good user experience, so that way it converts well. The third is we want to make sure that we're adding content to it on a regular basis. And the fourth, we want to make sure that we have really good authority and we're getting tons of backlinks, press mentions, brand mentions, and everything else like that. Now, the tactics that you do to show up in AI versus showing up on Google are the same, but how they interpret them are a little bit different. So for example, using something called backlinks or link building. For Google and these search engines, they want to actually look at the root destination of where the link is coming from and where it's sending people, and it is looking at that data. Typically right now with these LLMs, they're more so looking for the brand mention. So getting your brand name, let's say like, the 10X your team with Cam and Otis. If that was mentioned on an article in Apple News, in these LLMs, that is about the equivalent of getting a backlink for Google on Apple News. They're just looking for those different sources. So that's a big thing right now is people re-spinning up SEO services and saying it's for LLM visibility. The problem is they are changing how they're calling it, but they're not changing their tactics, because some of the old school SEO tactics that people used to sell, like with keyword stuffing and stuff like that, that is not going to help you rank on these LLMs and everything. But good quality SEO that's working right now to rank you on Google is also the good quality things that you need to do to make sure that you're showing up in some of these AI overviews and everything. And now there's additional things that we can do as well, like more technical nerdy stuff is like prompt seeding and how we track those things and everything. But that's one of the big things that I would say is buzzwordy things right now is the all things AI.
It feels like we're a bit at the moment there, and I will acknowledge the elephant in the room that Otis dropped his internet's out. I think we might just wrap without it because we're already at the 40-minute mark, but, call the obvious there. But I think it's interesting we're at the spot, like I said, where it's like things almost, I don't know, it seems like we're almost peeking over the hill a little bit of what it may look like on the other side, as far as the AI just becoming so part of everything there. Do you see it working its way into more changes there beyond like the SEO pieces? Like one of the things that comes to mind is like just AI generated content, and that spam of content that's happened over the last really like 8 months or so has just gotten so ridiculous. And I'd imagine then we all get very tired of it. So then we look for the personal content, and those kind of, that cycle continues. How do you see that playing out in 2026?
Yeah, two sides of the coin. One, I think that in some ways we've just scratched the surface from the AI, because I think even now with business owners, when they're thinking about it, most people are thinking about just using AI as for generative, like you said, like create me emails, create me a landing page, create me a blog post, create an image, and they're using it to generate. Where we even just internally use it more than anything, and I think not enough businesses use this, is for data analysis and interpretation. You can feed it a ton of information and then ask it questions about your data, about your marketing. We have AI agents inside of all of our clients, like Google Search Console, their Google Ads, and their marketing data. So we can ask the agent question, and we don't have to sift through hours, if not days, of data and reports to get decisions. The next level above that, where I think that we're at with the AI, is getting people to do things more agentically. So now, instead of just having the agent, hey, come up with 5 ideas for a blog post for me. Well, now the agent and people creating AI agents, it can also start to think, process information, and take actions for you. So instead of just create me a blog post, it will be, hey, look at the social strategy of what we've been doing, create our whole social media campaign. It will actually create the assets. It will schedule them out in some type of social media tool. And it's a multi-step thing, is almost like having a real person for you. Look at it, and it works 24/7. So it's always optimizing. Oh, this one didn't do good. Let's remove it. Let's create something to replace it, and seeing how things create more agentically. The flip side of it, like what you said, where I think the biggest opportunity for business owners right now when it comes to the marketing aspect and creating content is stuff like this: video podcasts and live videos, because that's really difficult to AI. Like, right, there's definitely AI videos and stuff like that are coming out, but people are going to get sick of the AI generated content, and what they're going to want is more humans. Think about like the extreme thing that we saw during COVID, right? Whenever people did get shut in, they were getting sick of Zoom calls and stuff like that. And you finally got to meet somebody in person again. You're like, my fellow human. Like, you got super excited to see people again. That is where I think that if business owners are smart and they want to be proactive instead of reactive, start implementing and finding out ways how you can make that a part of your content strategy with a video podcast, with doing some type of weekly or even like a monthly live webinar video type training that you're doing, very casual and relaxed, so people can get to know you, get to know the company, get to know the brand, see you as a thought leader in your niche. Because the thing with the video podcast and the live videos, technically you could do it on the video podcast, but you definitely can on the live. Guess what? This isn't faked. Like, we didn't before this show create a 40-minute script and I'm reading off of a teleprompter right here. Like, you're able to see emotion, see excitement, see how somebody thinks, process information, how they speak on a topic. That can't be faked. And so if you truly want to stand out as an industry leader in your niche, I think that that's the best way to kind of start being proactive with your content strategy to combat against what's going to happen within AI.
Yeah, and I think, it just goes back to what you were saying earlier. Things change, tactics change, but it's the same strategies underneath there. It's like, spoiler, sorry, it goes back to authenticity. Yeah, I know it's kind of boring, but it goes back to authenticity, right? Say the same thing all the time with communication stuff. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. It turns out it's just comms. Like, oh gosh, that's boring, but it is just communication at the end of the day, right? And one of those other fundamental strategies that does stay the same is being that lifelong learner. And for me, with what I learned today, it is this idea, and I think just hearing it from your perspective, talking about marketing was really enlightening for me, because I say this a lot when it comes to my rugby coaching, which is that there's no right answer. There's a reason if you watch international rugby, you'll see different teams do different things. There's lots of different approaches. There's no right answer. There's no hard rule on anything. You need to understand the pros and cons of those different pieces and when to apply each. And I can see that you apply that same kind of strategy to what you do, Sean, of it's like, hey, there's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. Even, talking some of my weird hypotheticals, you're like, yeah, I could imagine a business that exists in that world. Now, have I seen one? No, screw it. No way. But it could exist, and it would look like this. I love that. Just always saying there's no right answer. And when you meet folks that are very confident that they have the only right answer, it means you need to find a new room to stand in. How about you, Sean? What did you learn?
So
if you have anything to add on that, you can go ahead too.
No. So the good thing that I learned is I'm not alone. Guess what? Unfortunately, other people have gotten burned by marketing agencies and have seen the same thing that I have and everything, which is why we do what I do. And I also learned that there's some awesome video podcasts out there that more people need to listen to, because you guys are giving real helpful information and very conversational. So I love the opportunity to hang out with you and Otis.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. How do folks get in touch with you? Have you come in and fix their marketing?
Yeah. So the best way is on our website, seangarner.co, SeanGarner.co, seangarner.co. But specifically for the listeners of this episode, if they go to seangarner.co/10x your team, all one word, I have a special thing just for them, to where what I want to give them is, we talked a little bit about, and we teased this, about the 10 sections of your webpage. There's going to be a free guide on our webpage if you go to seangarner.co/10x your team. And on that, it's going to give you that whole guide. You can download that free template and you can see exactly the 10 sections you need to have on your website to make sure that you get more leads and you make more money.
Does the Lego theme go through the whole guide as well?
It does. It should. I need to actually, after I said that, I was like, man, that is a genius thing. I need to have my graphic designer fix it, because it doesn't show Lego blocks. I don't want Lego to sue me, but maybe plastic clipping blocks together.
Mega Blocks has gotten this far. I'm sure you can be safe. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Don't use the word Lego, but it does show the different sections. But I was thinking, like, man, that'd be really cool if we actually made it with Legos.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's something else I learned today. I can still improve my marketing.
Always something to tweak. Well, awesome, Sean. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And on behalf of Otis, whose internet is completely out up in Monument, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, guys. It's great to connect with you.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Sean Garner, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners and your tribe so they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again. We'll see you all next time.